Have you guys heard of MSW logo, that little triangular cursor on the screen that was called a turtle? And you can move the turtle up, down, left, right, and as that turtle moves, it would create some patterns on the screen. So that ended up being my very first programming language, even before I knew or understood what programming was. When I was in my third grade, we were taught Logo as part of the curriculum, and all I remember from that time is drawing these cool spiral looking patterns on the screen and getting amused by them. I mostly forgot about it over the coming years, and at some point, I remember learning Basic and then HTML. I remember playing around with the marquee tag in HTML back then, which is now deprecated, but my real coding and programming journey didn't start until the 11th grade. I had two options then, either to learn C++ for the next 2 years or to learn engineering drawing. I knew that I wanted to study computer science for higher studies, so I decided why not try C++ right now and see if I like it. So I would spend the next 2 years learning just the basics of programming with C++ and some data structures like arrays, strings, stacks, queues, and linked lists. Fortunately, no trees and graphs back then. I still didn't do much coding except for what was already being taught in the school until I entered university. I started my first semester back in August 2016. I don't know about your university, but when you are a fresher, a lot of seniors would come and talk to you in your classes and give you advice on how to approach the next 4 years of university. The same happened with us, and somehow from someone on the campus, I came to know about a couple of resources that were going to be my lifeline for the next 4 years. These included Code Forces, HackerRank, Code Chef, Code Academy, and Coursera. But just like every other fresher, I was super confused. Should I be learning data structures and algorithms, get into competitive programming, or should I be learning some development skills? So what I did was I started doing both. On 2nd of August 2016, I had joined this platform called Code Forces and had started solving some beginner level problems because I already knew C++ from my high school years. On 12th August 2016 is when I joined this platform called Code Academy and started learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I soon joined another platform called GitHub on October 13, 2016, which makes it exactly 7 years as the time of recording this video. During my first year, I was participating in a lot of these competitive coding challenges without much result, to be fair, because I was still a beginner, while also actively learning about web development from Code Academy. Soon the first year passed and my summer vacations began, and I still felt like I hadn't made any real progress. I was falling out of love with competitive coding because it felt like a never-ending game, with the prize being hopefully ranking lower someday. I didn't feel like a software engineer at the time because I couldn't really build software. So that's when I actually really decided that I wanted to go all in with development. So my second year of university came around, and around this time, I came to know about this open source program called Google Summer of Code. A few of my seniors had gotten in, and I was in complete awe of how they did it. I thought that was something that I would really like to do during my years in the university, but didn't exactly know how to approach it. I realized that was something that could help my career a lot, so I decided that I wanted to participate in Google Summer of Code pretty soon. So I started contributing to open source with however little skills that I had at the time. So I digged around my GitHub a little bit and I found my first pull request. It was a tiny documentation change, and it still ended up with 21 comments, which was way more than the lines of code I had actually written in it. The next couple of PRs were still tiny PRs with not a lot of feature implementation, but I learned so much about Git and GitHub, as well as working in an open source community, that I'm still grateful to till this day. I still remember asking really silly questions about squashing commits or Git rebase in the communication channel. Apart from open source, I was creating some tiny little personal projects of my own. I started this 30-day of code challenge, which is still up on my GitHub profile if you want to check it out. Then soon, towards the end of my third semester, I got my first paid freelance gig. It was not a lot of money at all. It was just rupees 2000 or rupees 3000. I don't even remember, but I remember creating a new bank account for it because I didn't already have a bank account and I needed to accept that payment in some form. Irrespective of the money, that was a huge milestone for me and gave me a slight confidence boost. Then I went on to do some internships from this platform called Internshala, which further made me more confident in my own skills. Soon I came to know about this program called Outreachy, which is another open source program but for underrepresented people in tech. And at the same time, I was also upskilling. So after learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, I moved on to learning React again from Code Academy because I personally enjoy reading and coding as a learning method as compared to watching YouTube videos. Again, I was contributing to open source in whatever way or form that I could. And luckily, the next summer, when my second year ended, I got accepted as an Outreachy intern in the Wikimedia Foundation. That was another huge milestone for me because I had just made $5,500 as a student, which was extremely crazy for me. I used some of that money to buy myself a MacBook because my older laptop sucked so much. My fifth semester was when I was actively doing a lot more internships again from Internshala because Internshala was the place where I could find part-time remote internships that didn't require a lot of time because I was also attending classes at the same time. So participated in some hackathons here and there. Throughout my university years, I focused more on gaining as much practical experience that I can than what was being taught in the classroom. GPA wasn't really a priority for me during my university years. After the end of second year, it was mandatory for us to do an official internship in order to gain credits in the next semester. But unfortunately, since my CGPA was not the best, I couldn't sit for on-campus internship placements, so I had to look for off-campus opportunities. And I somehow luckily managed to get an interview at Facebook London. But at this point, since I was working more on development skills, my DSA skills were not at all at a good place. So the interview went horribly wrong. Now when I look back at it, I know that was a simple DFS problem, but I couldn't solve it at the time. So the only option that I had for my mandatory internship was getting into Google Summer of Code because that was accepted by my university in order to get credits. I luckily got accepted in Google Summer of Code and spent the summer working on open source projects, working under the guidance of mentors. And since I was entering my final year of university, I had to study data structures and algorithms because apparently the rumor was if you're not good with DSA, you can't get a good job placement. Around the same time is when I actually started my content creation journey. I was simply just sharing whatever I was learning in the form of these hand-drawn notes on my drawing tablet. Content creation was not a serious thing for me, but just a creative outlet from all the final year stress that I had. Again, I was looking for off-campus opportunities for full-time offers because of the CGPA requirement on campus. Once again, I somehow managed to get an interview at Google Tokyo. I thought that they were going to invite me to the Tokyo office to interview, but that didn't happen. I interviewed at the Bangalore office. At this point, I was fairly good with data structures and algorithms. My interview went good, not perfect, but I ended up failing that one as well. I had bought LeetCode Premium just to practice for this one interview and spent lots and lots of time practicing mock interviews on Pramp. When I failed my Google interview, that is when my dreams of working at a big tech company shattered because back in the day, working at a big tech company was the only way to go and I had failed the chance that I was given. But the universe had something else in mind for me. Failing that interview opened new doors into the world of startups and remote jobs. In my final semester, I got a winter internship to work at HackerRank as a software developer intern where I ended up getting a pre-placement offer, and I had also interviewed off campus with Intuit. That was the year of COVID, so offers were being revoked and it was a very stressful time, but I had managed to get 2 offers and I had to make a decision which was the better choice moving forward for me. I decided to continue working at HackerRank. I spent about a year or so working there, after which I switched to a tech education startup in the UK. That was a remote job. If you want to know more about my remote jobs journey, you can check out my other video. I'll provide a link to that in the description box below. There I've explained how I got each and every one of my remote jobs and what was the interview process like. After working at HackerRank, I joined another startup, which I previously mentioned, and I worked at that startup for another year, and then I finally switched to another startup in the US, again working remotely. So that's it. That's my journey in tech. I hope you guys found something helpful because when I was still a student, this is something that I would do. I would internet stalk seniors or people who were doing what I wished to do when I grew up, and I would read their blog experiences, read about their journeys, stalk their LinkedIn profiles, and see exactly what they had done in their career to get to the stage where they are currently at. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.